That's it. We're live. So, Sean, first and foremost, thanks for taking the time to do this.
No problem.
Um, you know, I feel like I met you just a couple of years ago. Um, Tinner battles probably, and then we see each other at the other events, and I see a lot more of you on Facebook. You post, I feel like more and more content feels that way. It might just be something that I just more and more picked up on over the last year or so. But I'm curious, where did you get started in window film? How long have you been in the industry? Um,
So I got started in window film when I was 12 years old. My dad actually tinted windows on the weekends, just as a hobby and as a means to get extra money. So me being inquisitive, I just always wanted to do anything and everything he was doing. So I'd make sure I was up early on Saturday mornings because if I wasn't up when he got going, he'd leave me. So that's kind of where my early morning thing comes from, is trying to shadow him. But yeah, got started at the age of 12, and more so at that point, it was just standing over his shoulders, watching what he was doing, and at some point, it transitioned to him actually explaining what he was doing, why he was doing it, this, that, and the third. And then from there, it went to me doing the work and him sitting on the porch watching. And that's pretty much the last time he tinted. Once I got good enough at it, he'd bring the jobs in, I'd do the work, and he'd collect the money. And so to this day, he still doesn't do any window tinting anymore. He just waits for me to come home, or um, he might do two roll ups on his own, but other than that, he'll just wait till I come back home to do it for him.
so, I mean, you've been window tinting full time basically your entire life. Yeah.
Pretty much. Like I say, starting at that age, if I wasn't at school, I was tinting windows in the front yard. And from there, once I went off to college, instead of getting a full time job while I was in college, I'd tint windows in the apartment complex parking lot. Graduated college, started working in the automotive. I went to UTI to be an automotive technician and went to the Volkswagen Academy, graduated there. Worked in the Volkswagen dealership for several years, and finally realized, hey, I don't want to be oily the rest of my life. But I mean, the whole time I was tinting windows after work and on weekends. And so when I decided I didn't want to turn wrenches forever for other people, um, I applied at the fire department. I went through all the application process, the hiring process, went through all the interviews, got to the last interview to get hired, and for some reason I had never asked what they paid. And when he told me, "Oh, you'll be making 24," I was like, "Okay, 24 hours, 24 an hour, that's not bad." And he's like, "No, 24,000 a year." I was like, "Whoa!" So I had to back up and punt. I couldn't go because I was making six figures as a Volkswagen technician at the time, um, and I just couldn't see myself dropping from six figures to 24,000. So I had to regroup, keep working at the dealership, keep tinting on the side, and so then I applied at the police department. But up front, I asked how much they made, and they were at that time making 38,000 a year. So I figured 38,000, and with the money I was making tinting, I could swing that and still support the family. So that's when my law enforcement career began back in Valdosta, Georgia. And so my wife ended up PCSing to Ellsworth, South Dakota. And so I transferred, not really transferred, but I got hired on at Box Elder Police Department up there in South Dakota. Still tinting windows anytime I wasn't working. It'd be the middle of a blizzard, all the tent shops closed in Rapid City, and I'd be in my garage at the house tinting windows with the heaters going. Um, so eventually, I think we were there about 4 years, and then she PCSed here to Shaw Air Force Base here in South Carolina. I got hired on at Sumter Police Department, continued tinting on the side. but something different happened here. The the Tint Man name just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it eventually got to the point to where the demand was so great to where I had to make a decision. I know I could no longer do both because working as a homicide detective, getting called out in the middle of the night, even when I wasn't on call, and trying to tint every free second I had, it was just wearing on me too much. So, like I say, eventually I ended up having to choose between the law enforcement and the tinting. It was I. It was hard as far as the relationships I had built with my law enforcement coworkers, but as far as the financial aspect of it, it was a no-brainer. But during that time, the like I say, the relationships I had built, it felt like I was in this huge fraternity, and there was everybody had my back. Whereas at that time, I Avery and I had become good friends while I was living in Valdosta, Georgia, and Jason Bassey from Renova, Mississippi. He, those were pretty much were the only two. Well, there was one more, a guy named Keith Jones. My uncle had a detail shop while I was in high school, and Keith was the tenor there, and so Keith took me under his wings, and he trained me on things that my dad wasn't aware of because my dad's an old school tenor. He could tint any car without using a heat gun. He'd lay it on there, wet underneath, let the sun heat it, and he'd walk away, come back, and just keep repeating that process until the sun pretty much did the job of a heat gun. It took a while, but it always came out great. But anyway, Keith Jones took me under his wings in my uncle's detail shop and taught me a lot. And so, like I say, at the point of me getting ready to make the decision to choose between law enforcement and tinting, those three tenors, Jason Wells, no, Jason Bassey, Avery Wells, and Keith Jones were the only three tenors, and my dad that would actually take the time that I had come in contact with that would take the time to actually show you something. Every Everywhere else that I stop by shops, hey, I'm learning this. Can you show me this? Show me that. They give me the cold shoulder. So the tinting industry to me at that time didn't feel like there was a brotherhood going on. So that's why it was so hard for me to leave the law enforcement because I had that brotherhood, and whereas I didn't even know it existed in the tin industry, and that was until Avery a couple years ago pressed me to, hey man, let's go to this tenor battles thing. It's down here in Florida. We can meet up. We can get an Airbnb, and we won't compete. We'll just go check it out and see what it's all about. There'll be a lot of the people that you watch on YouTube will be there, and you'll get a chance to meet them. So I went out on a limb and made that trip with Avery, and man, the rest is history. That's when I started to see, hey, there is a brotherhood in this tin industry, and these guys are willing to help you, and most of them give you the shirt off their backs. So once I saw that, and of course, this was after I'd already made the decision and left law enforcement, but there was up until that point, I was still longing for that brotherhood. I was still reaching out to my coworkers from the police department, trying to hang out and stuff, and our schedules just really never did sync up anymore. So, like I say, once I saw that camaraderie and brotherhood at tenor battles 2 years ago, it just warmed my heart to know that the brotherhood I was still a part of a brotherhood. I just hadn't tapped into it yet. And so, like I say, from there, the rest is pretty much history. Met a lot of great guys, a lot of the legends that I've been watching on YouTube over the years, the Dave Dellingers, and I've been watching Cal Whalen and Marco. A lot of guys. I hate to start naming names because I'll leave some people out, and then I don't want anybody to feel like I looked over them. But like I say, it just meeting all these people at the competitions has just been a blessing.
You know, what a great like story to be able to hear that, and kind of how, you came from that law enforcement background and that brotherhood and camaraderie. And it really shows, I feel like you reflect that, like, because you've always been like such a positive force. So I feel like, it seems like it was something you were looking for, and then being that it was there, you've helped magnify it as well, or help grow it as well, just in your own actions. I really feel like if somebody was to ask, people that know you in the industry, the word positivity and just like super nice guy, willing to help, like is I would imagine how you'd be described. So you know,
For
it shows.
sure. I can remember back before I knew of the tin industry brotherhood. I was already here in Sumter, South Carolina, and I had a C5 Corvette in my garage, and it was kicking my butt. So I played with it all that evening. It just couldn't get. I got the doors, but I just couldn't get that back windshield. And so the next day, I don't know if I came home on my lunch break, but it was during business hours. I don't know if I had the day off or if I was working night shift, but anyway, I was working back on it that next day during business hours, and I FaceTime Avery, and I was telling him what the issues I was running into, and he was trying to talk me to it, and he was like, "Well, I tell you," because I called him, and then he was like, "No, just FaceTime me and let me show you some things," and he was explaining, and the bad thing that was going on was the guys, and this was before Avery opened the shop. This was when he was working at the shop he was working for. The guys in the background were making snide remarks. Oh, if he don't know how to do that, he shouldn't be. He shouldn't even have that car in his garage. Da, da, da. Take it to the professionals. This, that, and the third. And I'm like, Avery made me feel better because he kind of cut him off and was like, no, don't do that. Everybody had to learn from somebody. So just things like that. When Avery did that, and that's why at Tenor Battles last year, when I was asked that question in the middle of the competition, I can't see myself being the one to give somebody the cold shoulder if they're truly inquisitive about something. That's why I knew I had plenty of time, so that's why I stopped and answered that question, pulled them in instead of giving them the cold shoulder or blowing them off, because that was done to me for so many years. So I just can't see myself doing that. And even while I was at WFR, Nick, I can't pronounce his name. Gagley something. But anyway, if you anybody that's seen my lives on the last few Saturdays, I've had a shadow, and he's been right there on my heels, and everybody keeps thinking it's a customer. No, it's not a customer. But anyway, Nick reached out to me while I was at WFR, and it was asking, "Hey man, I'm 2 hours from you. Do you mind if I come to your shop and shadow you?" I said, well, it's got to be on a Saturday because Monday through Friday I go by appointment, so I don't have any free time to get off track. But I said Saturday is first come, first serve. I'm not on the time restraint, so you can come on Saturdays. And but the only stipulation was you got to get here at 6 when I advertise that I'm going to open. And the fact that he's willing to drive 2 hours or a little under 2 hours to get to me to shadow me just to learn means a lot to me. So he was telling me he was offering to pay and all of that, and I turned that down because like everybody had to start somewhere, and the more help you can get, the more I feel that you'll love being in the industry. So anyway, he's been there the last couple of Saturdays shadowing me, and I think learning a lot. I could be wrong. I might be a little biased, but he says he's learning a lot, and so that's why I'm so open to help others, is because I went for many years without having that help when I reached out, other than, like I say, those four. But like I say, now that I've been to these competitions and met a lot of the good guys in the industry, that I don't have that feeling anymore. I do know that there are many people in this industry willing to help the up and coming guys.
Absolutely. So, you mentioned that you transitioned from law enforcement to window film, especially because the demand was so great. So, can you tell me a little bit about how you've managed that demand? Because, when demand is obviously like best case scenario, but also can be overwhelming potentially. It needs to be managed right and so on. How do you manage that demand?
So for one thing, I had to stop trying to do everything all by myself because I mean I'm a one man shop. I've hired people over the last couple of years, and nobody that I've hired seems to have the drive that I have, and it's hard for me to work with somebody when I'm here early every day and I'm giving 100 and they're showing up late and want to talk on the phone all day. So those relationships that didn't work out. And I mean, I still wish them the best. They still stop by, out needing tools or advice or whatever, and I still help them out. No hard feelings, but it's just hard for me to work with somebody that's not like-minded as myself. But as far as the demand, I ended up having to step back and let my wife handle a lot of administration, the administration side of it. So answering the phone, booking the appointments, going out, measuring windows to do flat glass quotes. So allowing her to assist me on that. And then we basically just put the word out, hey, we're generally booked out a week, 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. We feel that it's worth the wait. We understand if you don't want to wait. But then when that wasn't enough, that's why we started opening up on the Saturdays. But I had the bright idea to do first come, first serve Saturday. So that way I wasn't tied to the shop all day. Hey, we put the word out, get here early. Don't meet me there, beat me there. I'm going to take in X amount of vehicles on this Saturday, and once I finish those vehicles, I'm out. So most Saturdays, I'm back home in my recliner before noon, and I've done a full day's work. So, like I say, that helps with the demand as far as getting people in on that Saturday that may not want to wait 2 and 3 weeks to get an appointment, or just aren't able to step away from their jobs or their obligations to come during the week. So the Saturday thing, allowing my wife to take over the phones and the admin part of it, and then being available early mornings, because like I say, some people just work 7 to whatever and can't be without their vehicle while they're at work, or use their vehicle for work. So every day I have a 6 a.m., sometimes 5:30 a.m. appointment, and that helps with the demand. So that's, instead of putting that appointment 2 and 3 weeks out, just add it to the beginning of the day, and so that helps with the demand.
I love it. I especially love that one line you said where don't meet me there, beat me there, because you're really painting that clear picture for the expectation. Like you want to get in, you don't want to wait 2 or 3 weeks. Get there really early, like really early. Don't show up like an hour after and think it was going to be okay. Because it's
because I've got camera footage of one Saturday. There's an older gentleman got there at 12:30, parked at the garage door, and you could see him in the camera just playing on either on his phone or tablet, just waiting for me to get there. So that morning, I think my wife was out of town, so I advertise 6, but I generally get there around 5:15. But with her being out of town, I was awake anyway. So when I checked the camera at 3:30 in the morning and saw that guy sitting there, I went ahead and got dressed and went up there. So when I pulled up and got out of the truck, he was like, "Young man, I'm first in line. Don't try to jump ahead of me. The Tint Man said that he gonna be here at 6 o'clock." And so I started laughing. He was like, "Well, what's funny?" I said, "Well, sir, you're looking at the Tint Man." And so he looked at his watch and he was like, "But it's not 6 o'clock." I said, "Well, sir, I actually told you that I'd be here by 6, and it's before 6, so I think I'm on time." And he just chuckled, and I knocked the car out. And by the time I finished, and mind you, that was 3:30. By the time I got his car done and to back it out, there were 2 more there already. So, like I say, the biggest thing for the Saturday deal is pretty much training the community to know, hey, if I get, he says 6 o'clock, but if I get there at 6 or later, I'm probably not going to make the cut. And that's true. Usually I have all 7 vehicles by 5:45. But even if I only take in 4, 6:30 is my cutoff. So if I only take in 4, if anybody after 6:30, I'm not going to let them in, because if I let that one in, the word will get out. Hey, I got there at 6:30, 6:45, 7 o'clock, and he still let me in. So, like I say, it's not all about the money. I'm there as a convenience to the community, but I also have to have those strict guidelines so I can get back home to my family and not be tied up at the shop all day on a Saturday.
I absolutely love that you've shaped, that Saturday to fit what works for you. And, all the pieces were in place, meaning you had the demand to make that something that people would be really interested in doing, and showing up early. And, I think it's a perfect example of, you making the rules for the customer, in a way that works for everybody, but especially for you as the business owner. And so, like you said, so you can be with your family or do whatever you need to do. The customer is always right. What do you say to that? What's your feelings on the customer is always right?
Within reason. There has to be a certain amount of logic that goes into that ideation. Um, I I got a banner that hangs in my shop, and it says, "If you're looking for perfection, seek Jesus, not the Tint Man." And people laugh at it just like you're doing right now, but
Yeah.
it's true. I mean, I'll do everything in my power to make a customer happy, and I tell them 99% of the time, if I pull that vehicle out of the shop, that means I'm happy with it, and 99% of the time, that customer is going to be happy with it. And I mean, there's always an exception, but as far as them always being right, I try to go along with that. But if somebody's being unruly or just being unreasonable, and I also have a no refund sign hanging up. But if somebody's being unreasonable and expecting something that I know I can't deliver, hey, okay, you're right. The customer's always right. Let me pull this tin off and remove all the glue. So you start with a clean slate. Here's your refund. There's another shop around the corner. Go try them. But there was one lady I did that to, and I don't do it often, but like I say, probably 1 or 2 in a year, it resorts to that. But I told the lady, hey, if you go to this X shop, I won't name any names, and they took this vehicle because she was complaining about one spec. And I explained to her, ma'am, I don't have a problem redoing this window one time for this one spec, even though that spec is within industry standards. I'll redo it one time, but I can't guarantee that after I redo it, it might be 2 specs. It may not be any, but there's a good chance that there'll be a spec somewhere else, or it might be 2 specs. I said, but as long as once I redo it, as long as that's still within the industry standards, we're not going to keep pulling tin off and redoing it for free. So once I saw that, I explained that to her, and I saw the look on her face that said, if there's a spec again, you're going to redo it again. I was like, you know what? Cut your losses now. No need in playing this game. So, like I say, I removed it. I cleaned the glue off. I gave her a full refund.
Cool.
Said, if you take this vehicle to any other tent shop, doesn't just have to be in town, but take it to any other tent shop and let them tint it. I said, give it a couple weeks to dry, bring it back by. If I can't find one spec in any of the windows on the vehicle, I'll give you 3 times what you paid that shop. Even if they charge you double what I charged you. If I can't find one spec, I'll give you 3 times what you paid them. I hadn't seen that lady again.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. And that is kind of like, I guess probably the main contention point is people that are looking for a spec, because if you're looking for a spec, you'll find a spec. But if you don't look for a spec, you'll probably never find a spec.
Yeah. And I mean,
Um,
I've got another banner that has a picture of one spec in a glass, and it pretty much explains industry standards. It explains my policy. So basically, if I've ever ran into an issue or heard of another tenor or shop running into an issue with a customer, I get a banner made. I hang it in the shop. So in my waiting room, there's banners all around the shop. So there's plenty of reading materials. Because basically, I want to be transparent with the customers. I want everything to be laid out, spelled out. That way, there is less of a chance of a complaint afterwards. I'm explaining to you that, hey, there is no perfection in this industry. I'm going to do my best. And even if you're not happy, I'm going to do my best to try to make you happy within reason. So, like I say, all of that is spelled out up front. I really believe in transparency, and so far, it's done me well.
For your business, what do you see in the next maybe like what do you see moving forward? Do you think you've like fine-tuned your business to a point where it's like this is, it's like fine-tuned, it's enjoyable, it fits your lifestyle, everything's kind of running? Or do you also see like a vision for a bigger shop, a different shop? Do you want staff? Do you not want staff? Like, what do you see for the future?
So I definitely see growth in the future. I've been training my son Eric for the past what 5 years. Eric's 15 now, so I started training him when he was 10. I felt he was old enough to trust him with a razor blade for the most part, and so he's a sophomore now. So his mom and I have told him, hey, because he really wants to be the tent man, and I ain't got a problem with it. But we told him, hey, you got to go at least to a trade school. You got to go get some kind of degree or some kind of certificate or something um, from higher education. So you got a backup plan. So we're going to see what happens. He's saying he's probably just going to go to the technical college here for 2 years and get a trade and then come back and be the tent man. So I hope that's true. If that's the case, and I see that he's really, I see he's passionate about it now, but if that continues, then we'll probably look at opening a second location and maybe in a town 30, 40 miles away and let him run it. Or he can take over my shop and I can vacation more.
I like
But
this.
I think I'm always looking to advance and grow and learn more. I mean, I can look at work I did a year ago. Um, well, a little over a year. So basically, once I thought I was pretty good until I started going to tenor battles and WFR reunions, and then picking up more tips from those guys there to even hone my skills even more. So I mean, I can look at work I did before going to any of those competitions, and now work that I thought was grade A, and now I'm looking like, man, that was trash. So like I say, that's the main thing for me is I'm really not in competition with anybody else. I'm competing with myself, just trying to be a better tent man today than I was yesterday, and just continue to grow, learn more things, and just see what happens next.
Cash asked, how many vacations do you take per year now?
Cash, I try to do a vacation about every 6 to 8 weeks. All these 6 day work weeks and getting up at 6 in the morning. And the plan is to work 10-hour days, but it never works out like that. I ended up working 12 and 14-hour days. I believe if you don't have that downtime, you'll get burnt out pretty quickly. And after leaving law enforcement and going full speed ahead, working for myself, I neglected my family for a while unknowingly, and I was burning myself out. So my wife finally, even she had been talking, but she finally got my ear and got me to listen and hear her instead of just being present and letting it go in one ear and out the other. But once she got me to see the bigger picture and what was going on, I vowed to her, hey, I'm going to put just as much effort into this family as I do this tent shop. Because at one point she told me you're a better business owner than you are a husband right now, and that hurt. But I mean, it was true. So after listening and taking heed to what she was saying, that's the reason for all the vacations. Is I enjoy it, but it's more so to get that one-on-one time with her and the kids, and not to get burnt out, but spend that quality time. Because I learned real quick that even closing the shop and being home wasn't enough, because enough people had access to me here in town to where even if I was off, I wasn't off. So yeah, we like I say about every 6 to 8 weeks, so at least 6 vacations a year, cash, if not more, and depending on how many competitions pop up.
But truly the vacations are for the best reason.
Yeah,
Not that obviously like not burning out is a great reason, but I really mean like obviously your family and what you said, that's so true. And I think something so many can relate to where, like you said, even if you can break away some time, but you're at home or you're kind of in the same environment, you're not there like as if you just make that separation and go attend to your family and, be present there, like you said.
yeah, and I mean it doesn't have to always be out of the country or across the United States.
Right.
There's been times I'll rent an Airbnb in Colombia, so 45 minutes away, but it's far enough to where the people don't have access to me.
Right.
So, like I say, it's not all the vacations aren't always extravagant. They are a lot of times, but not all the time. But like I say, it's just to get that quality time in with the wife and kids, and sometimes just the wife. We leave the kids. Now that my daughter's driving, we can leave the kids behind every now and then and just get that one-on-one time.
So growth wise, in your business, that's clear. Growth wise in the industry, is there anything that stands out to you within the window film industry that you hope to see evolve or grow over the next decade or so?
I mean, technology is amazing. I remember, I know the plotter's been out a while, but I fought it for years. And again, Avery just showed up at my shop one day with his plotter in the back of his Suburban and said, "Hey, we using this plotter tomorrow for your first come first serve Saturday." And so by the time we left the shop, I was shopping for a plotter. I'm just
Oh, Avery. Like,
I'm looking forward to seeing what technology has in store for this industry. I mean, I'm real. We talked at WFR. I'm real close to pulling the trigger on this Tint Wiz thing. So I'm looking forward to see all the advancements that's going to bring into my world, into my shop. But like I say, just looking forward to what technology has in store for this industry. What the latest and greatest that's going to come out and just help our jobs easier, put more money in our pockets, and keep it rolling.
what plotter software do you use to cut?
Right now, I'm using film and vinyl designs.
Happy?
For the most part, that's all I know. So I really don't have anything to compare it to. Avery
Perfect.
was using film and vinyl designs when he brought his plotter to my shop. So I just signed up with what he had. There's some patterns that I've run across that could be a little better, but at that time I just improvise and shave or foul and keep it moving. But like I say, I really don't have anything else to compare it to. So as of now, yeah, I'm happy.
Good. I mean, it's a common question, what software people use. So, one for film and vinyl design. Do you do any PPF or coatings, or are you going to stay away from additional offerings, or what are you thinking?
Well, I actually, Avery and I actually had KDX come to my shop and train us on PPF a few months ago. But the issue is, it was rolling into busy season, and all the competitions were coming up, and the vacations I already had planned. So I'm certified, but I hadn't really had a chance to play with it because every time I kind of get caught up. It's time for another vacation or trip or competition, and when I get back, it's crazy again at the shop. So I'm actually really looking forward to it's not dead season, but slower season to where I can focus on the PPF. I think I got a pretty good grasp on it, but I'm the type of person I don't want to offer it to the customers until I think I'm the best at it that I can be at the time, and I just hadn't messed with it enough right now to be able to say that. And I also want to get into wraps. Jason Bassey and I and Avery, we've been Jason's been doing the research on the wrap school, so we're looking at getting some of that training because I get a lot of requests for wraps, and that's actually why I signed up for that Las Vegas thing you did the live on a few weeks.
Autofill Mastery with
Yeah,
Mike Morg and, well, the whole team, Ray.
yeah. While you were on that live, I actually signed up for that, so I can, just like I say, all the knowledge is out there. But if we don't take advantage of it, then we're doing a disservice to ourselves. So, like I say, I signed up for that. So, like I say, I got, there's a lot out there I want to do, but I'm really picky about what my name is on as far as out in the public. So I just have to feel some level of mastery at it before I'll actually add it as a service in my shop.
Makes sense. Autofill Mastery, you just mentioned it. I wanted to ask, do you remember how much you paid for your ticket?
I don't know.
I'm just asking if you remember, because
I
go ahead.
want to say it was maybe six something, maybe $6.95.
Okay.
Really, I just clicked the button and put a card number in.
Fair enough. Okay, Cash said it was Cash said it was $6.95. I think he
Yeah.
bought it the first day too. The
Yeah.
reason I wanted to bring this up, and Cash said it was $9.95 last year, is $6.95 this year. The reason I wanted to bring this up, it's really unrelated, but you brought up the Autofill Mastery. I think sometimes with like master classes or anything to do with that, courses, they tend to potentially be expensive. And I just wanted to throw out there because there were some comments and some posts regarding the Autofill Mastery. I think personally, $6.95 for a 2-day, full day, like training on anything, basically $350 a day. Personally, I think it's not a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money. Not for training, not at all.
That's why I didn't even remember the price
Right.
of it, because my thing is, if I can take one thing away from those 2 days, that's potential to
$695.
I'll make that in no time with the one piece of information that I come back with. And I mean, I know I'll come away with more than one thing, but like I say, that just didn't seem like a lot of money for me, even after paying for the course, paying for the flights, paying for the hotel. It's worth it in my opinion.
I agree completely. And part of that, look, that does add up, right? The hotel and so on. But part of what's nice is if you're going to go to SEMA, or now you go to SEMA, you package it together, at least it's less of a flight. But I just wanted to bring up $6.95 for 2 full days. But also, if you buy 2 tickets, like I believe the second one's at a discount, and it brings that per day cost even down further.
Yeah.
So if you're hesitant, like if you're not sure if you're going or whatnot, just consider the price if you haven't looked, because it's not at all that much for how much you're learning and how much it can convert. When you think $695 could be like 2 or 3 hours of revenue in one day, like it's 1/2 or 1/4 of one day revenue. Mm-hmm. It's not, so anyway, thank you for bringing up the Autofill Mastery course. That'll be October, the last 2 days. It's a Sunday and a Monday before SEMA, and then SEMA's on Tuesday through Friday. So looking forward to seeing you there.
I'll definitely be there.
So 30 days away, WFCT, it's maybe like 33 or so. You'll be there. You'll be competing in the automotive competition. What's your mindset going into WFCT?
With it being my first time there, haven't even been there as a spectator yet. I'm just going in, hey, the same mindset I had at WFR, just go do what I do on a daily basis and tune out the surroundings and just do what I do. And that's I like to think that every car I touch, I do the best job that I can possibly do on it. So I'll take that same mentality into that competition, and we'll see where it lands me.
At WFR, you competed in singles and teams?
I did.
And just in general now, because you've competed at Tinder battles in teams, WFR in teams, also in single, and now you're about to compete again in single. Do you have a preference between the team and the single?
I like them both because at Tinder battles, Avery is my partner, and like I say, we've been jiving since I lived in Georgia, and Jason, he's from my hometown, and we've been jiving since I was a kid. So I enjoy just being able to rub elbows with those guys in the midst of a competition. But then I also like the singles because you stand alone and everything is on your own shoulders. You don't have any backup at that point.
Yeah, that makes sense. definitely makes sense. You'd enjoy being teams with somebody like Avery. I mean, I really knew he's a great guy, but you, the way he supported you, and you've mentioned like what a freaking great guy. Like seriously.
Oh yeah,
And
he
it
like I
shapes
said,
so much, it shapes how then you are in this industry, and then that shapes how so many other people interact with you in this industry. So, I mean, it really is just such an example of a ripple effect of the right way or positivity.
yeah, and like I say, and Jason also. When I go home to Mississippi, I got a list of people in my inbox just waiting on me to come home to do their cars. And a lot of times I'll be like, hey, just go to Jason. He's right there. He uses the same film I use. He's just as good. And they want me. They I guess they just want the conversation when I come home. But the crazy part about that is when I go home, I take my film and I do their cars right in Jason's shop. So I'll book my day out, Jason will book his day out, and then we'll double team everything all day long. So the people that didn't want to just go to him and wanted to wait for me, he's still doing half the work on their cars. And it just works out. I don't know many people that'll let somebody come into their shop and use it all day and not charge him a dime. And I've tried to pay him and he won't take it.
That's
That's
the
just the guy.
abundance mentality.
Yeah. So,
It
like I
really is.
say, people like he and Jason, and like I say, Rodney and Marco, those guys make it all worth wanting to stick around this industry.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Sean, I really mean like it's just like a positive, bright, even just conversation for us to have today. I mean, you're just a inspiring, hardworking person, and it just reflects off of you. And just really appreciate you doing this and just being you.
You're welcome. I'll continue being me. That's all I know.
That's all we can do. But you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it reflects on other people, and you put me in a good mood, and enjoy chatting with you. I really enjoy your work ethic. You're 6 a.m., but you're 6 a.m., but you're also you balance out your work with the vacations and so on. I mean, these are like key components that I feel like part of happiness, right? You have to have it's not you can't just be a business owner. You need to have a home life potentially. You need to balance that out. If you have a wife or a spouse, they need attention as well. And those are things that everybody deals with. Like it's very easy to get caught up in working 6 days a week and on that seventh day, spending all day sleeping and not carving out part of the year to actually do anything. And it's so easy for those years to pass. And those years can't be gotten again and so on, or to get burned out and bitter, or to start treating customers in a certain way. It's so easy to do all those things. And you don't do those. And you're an example of doing those your way, which is, I think, a very good way and the right way for you. So that's what I mean by that. It really is a great example and things that I think people can really, truly grasp and like value from.
Yes.
So thanks for coming on here and sharing it.
No problem. Good to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Anytime. I feel like I'd like to make the public request Avery to please hopefully join someday soon. And I'll see you in 4 weeks in Virginia Beach.
All right. We'll see you then.
Cool. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching as always. And Sean, have a good week. And
You too, Eric.
see you next week.
All right. See you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.